Hey guys, welcome to another RMA Fire tutorial. This is part 2 from dissolving an image using particles. So we left off basically here. I just cached this with more point count. Now what we're gonna do is a few things. First off, let's come out here and let's give our camera a nice resolution. So 1920 by 1080 would be nice. Lock our camera, let's find a nice angle. And then come out of here, hit Z on the viewport so that we can have control our Z depth. And inside of redshift depth of field, I'm gonna enable the Z depth. All right. Now let's drop an RS dome. Come to our light, and we're gonna enable a texture. And for our texture here, let's just use an RMA Fire HDRI. I like to use the parking. Let's use the nature volume 1. Or the circus. All right. So now that we have an HDRI, I'm gonna disable it from the viewport and on the render view as well. I'm also going to come into my material and type redshift. Oops. Redshift material and then RS material. So you type redshift material and then redshift material and RS material. And you want to connect this here, and we're gonna name this particles. So how do we get this color here into our points? We need the CD, right? Because we come here and look at middle mouse, you will see that we have a CD attribute. CD attribute is the color that we transferred here. So the particles actually contain the color of the texture. That means that we can also do RS point attribute up here, and it write down attribute name CD, connect this to the diffuse color so that we have this as the main color. And then out here, I'm gonna select the particles. I'm gonna go into render and tell it, okay, please render the particles material. Now we're gonna go into sampling and enable velocity blur. And we're gonna come into our out context and type redshift. In here on our redshift, we wanna enable motion blur. So to enable motion blur, you want to come into redshift, you want to come into motion blur and to the advanced, and we're going to select the motion blur tab and enable the instancing particles and the deformation. Let's select the render view and just save in case we crash. Let's come back into the main level. Move the particles down a little bit down the road, and we are going to wanna do a few things. So how do we tell Houdini to render this or redshift as particles? We select this, we go to redshift, we go to particles, enable, and we do a particle size of 0.01. That's gonna give us uniform particles all across the road. There's many different ways of changing the particle count, particle size. I'm gonna do a wrangle, and I am going to type at p scale is equal to fit 0.1 rand at pt num, and we're gonna fit this between 0.1 and 5 and 1. So this is basically randomizing the p scale between a 0.1 and a 1. And let's see what we have when we render. All right, we can see that it is very, very dark in our scene. So let's come into our material, and what I want to do is reduce the reflection because it's catching a lot of reflection. And let's come into our object, and under the dome, let's increase this to say 5 or something. Let me try a different HDRI because this one has a lot of color. We want something more dull. Let's see the parking. Okay, the parking lot HDRI seems to be working nicer. And in a perfect production world, or when I'm creating my own pieces, I would recommend adding way more particles. You can see that we could definitely use a lot more points in there. So just for the tutorial, I mean, let's just cache this with more points. So let's have a look at my pyrosim. And I'm just gonna crush it a little bit so it's not pushing everything up so high. Okay, and let's come in here and let's make this 4. Let's just quickly visualize what we have. It's definitely much nicer. It's pretty cool. So let's just cache like those frames. Okay, I'm back, and now we have this particles rendered out, and now we have way more particles. And let's see what this is gonna look like. Alright, I mean, it's still not as packed as I wish. See what happens if we make some of the particles bigger. And let's see what happens if we make the HDRI less strong. And also another thought would be we can do something like a trail. This is gonna give us way more particles. All these like really beautiful particle sims in the end is just like letting the machine cache them. And sometimes I'll let it cache overnight and just have tons of particles, and that's when I've gotten the most interesting results. And look at that, that already starts to look more interesting. One thought would be that maybe, no, it's actually pretty cool. So let's have a look at some other angles. I like to kind of find an angle where you can see like a lot of depth on the image. And this is cool. If you hit space and control, you can kind of move the camera like I just did. Yeah, so look at that. Some very beautiful sort of moments happening on this sim. And what I would suggest is just like playing around with that. I'm playing around with the point size. And maybe if you get too close to camera, you can come and tweak the Z depth. So you want to lock. Make sure that we stay locked. We stay on our camera 1 here. And now what I want to do is select my camera and tweak my Z depth, pull it back so that our focus is a little bit more on the foreground. Let's see, we can also come here onto our dome and tweak it a little more. Maybe we keep it at 3, and then the material, maybe increase reflection a little bit. And yeah, guys, have a look. I mean, this is a very interesting thing that you can render it out, play in reverse, and get some really cool image reveal stuff using Houdini with Redshift. Thank you for watching, guys, and I'll be back with more.